I used to enjoy a lot going to visit my father and grandfather at their place of work. And they were machinists. They work at a machine shop, and my grandfather eventually owned it and then passed it on to my own father. But I remember going in as a child and walking into my grandfather's office. And above his desk hung this picture. And it was of this guy. I don't know if he was famous. It was a black and white picture. But he was extremely wealthy, dressed to the nines in this three-piece suit, these really shiny shoes. He was holding up a glass of champagne and leaning up against this beautiful old Bentley. And on the other side of the Bentley was his chauffeur, who had just, apparently, based off the photo, filled up his glass of champagne because in the photo the chauffeur was putting the champagne back in the bucket of ice which was sitting on top of the Bentley. And at the bottom of this poster said, "Poverty stinks." That poverty is a terrible thing. Poverty is a bad thing. And it seemed to imply that this guy in the photo, dressed in the three-piece suit, had made it. Kind of the rags to riches story, the American dream. And when I got a bit older, I asked my grandfather, why do you have this photo above your desk? And he recounted to me the story of his childhood, that he grew up very poor, went to bed hungry many, many nights, and knew the stress, the anxiety, the worry, the fear that comes with having unmet needs, and in particular, the unmet basic needs. And so this picture sort of served as a reminder to him of a life that he no longer lived, but also as a motivator to continue to work hard, and in fact work harder every single day, because it reminded him of those nights that he went hungry and the fear and the pain and the worry that came with that. And whenever he could kind of access those worries, that pain, that stress of unmet needs, it motivated him to work harder. So as to work so hard that perhaps he could eradicate need in his life altogether. And I'm sure before my grandfather passed away, he would have told me, I didn't really need for much by the end of my life. He had provided for his family very well and did a great job and worked very hard to get to where he was. But our Lord in today's gospel is challenging one aspect of this idea. And he's not challenging the fact that we ought to work hard. We know our Lord himself was a hard worker. He grew up the son of a carpenter and learned his father's trade. And then when he came of age, he took on a life of ministry, of going around and walking and preaching and teaching and making disciples and healing the sick and the blind and the lame. He worked very hard. So we know our Lord is not against working hard. He's not against work at all. He himself was a worker. But I think what our Lord is challenging is this idea that we can utilize this worry that we all have at times, this preoccupation, this fear, this anxiety of having unmet needs, that we can utilize this so that we might be able to work harder and one day eradicate need from our life. And our Lord does this and challenges us in that question that he asked in not so many words. Why do we worry? Why do you worry so much about what you need? Why do you and I worry so much about what we need, about food, about water, about clothing? Why do we worry so much? And when he asks that question, at first it should take us back a little bit. We should be a little confused, maybe even a little angry. Because here is Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, who came to know what the human experience is and to prove to us that he knows the human experience by taking on the human experience. And here he's questioning, why do we worry so much about what we need? In effect, we should be asking, do you even know what it's like to be one of us, Lord? Do you know what it's like to need and to worry about not having what we need? And so either our Lord has absolutely no idea what it's like to be one of us, or, and is in fact the case, he knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows us better than we know ourselves. And he knows this, that we need, period. We need food. We need water. There will never be a day where we won't need shelter. There will never be a day when we won't need in our life clothing. There will never be a day in our life when we won't need family and friends and community and a church to belong to. There will never be a day in our life when we don't need love and to be loved. There will never be a day when we don't need to trust and be trusted. In the 21st century, there will never be a day when we don't need technology, our cell phones, our tablets, our computers, access to the internet. Our Lord knows us better than we know ourselves because he knows that we need, period. And in fact, he created us to be creatures of need. We were created to need. And so he asked the question, why do you worry about what you need? This is how we were made to be on the search, to be on the hunt, to work, to seek, and to find the only thing, or rather the only one, that can satisfy what is our bottomless pit of need and desire in our hearts. God. He created us to be creatures of need so that we might need him. And so guys, no matter how hard we work, we will never, ever eradicate need from our life. And there are many reasons I know why we work, and you guys get up every day and go to work, or you used to get up and go to work, but I know that there are many reasons why we do, but I wonder if in the American dream there's not a tinge in all of us that gets up and goes to work so that one day we might not need anything. Guys, that's a dangerous place to be in, to live under the illusion that there will ever be a day when we don't need. Yes, poverty stinks. Having need is no fun. But even worse than having need would be to believe in the lie that one day we could not need anything. Because if that day ever arrives, we no longer need God.